Andrew McCart, I'll push record, Ben. That microphone's meant to go to your mouth, not your eye. Andrew McCart, iFLTV. It's been a while, Ben Davison, since I've chatted to you. How's life?
All good, mate. You?
Very well, very well. Like I say, you signed my British border control licence. My coaching's going very well now. So
Good stuff.
Trying to keep my eye on Ben Davison. How does he do things? And I can
Don't be trying to take none of his
No,
fires.
I won't take over. No, definitely not. Listen, you've got a fantastic stable right now. Really exciting. Like I said to young Cameron Vaughn there, what's it like being in the gym when you've got Lee Woods and the Joshuas and whatnot that are up there and been that world champion, but then you've got prospects like yourself and Moses Ituama that's taking in the pressure and dealing with it in his stride. For you as a coach, though, having a plethora of different fighters at different stages in their career, how do you manage that? How do you coach that? How do you keep their sort of sanity in check?
We split the day up, so they're long days, you know. Everybody, there's all different slots throughout the day. When it's busy, sometimes we don't get out till 6:30, 7. You know, I get into the gym at 6:30, sometimes a touch earlier. Obviously I've got help in Lee Wiley, Barry Smith, and it's a team effort.
Definitely. But let's talk about fighters that you've got. Obviously, Moses Ituama's been out already in a fantastic fight against Dillian Whyte, but you've got Pat McCormack, who I saw Eddie's interview with Coogan, says he needs to kick on now. Get this Parra fight out of the way, win this, then we go into another big fight, then we go into another big fight, and by this time next year he's a world champion. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think now if you put him in terms of, if you put him in the ring with anybody, he wouldn't be out of place. It's just a little bit of experience along the way. And that's all it is. It's not... There's certain situations, certain scenarios that you experience along the way. So then when you experience them in there against an elite fighter, it's not the first time you're dealing with it. You've been there before. I'm experienced. I know how to deal with that. I know what's coming after this. I know that after a bad spell, I can come back, get back on top, and get back control of this fight. Little things like that along the way is when people go, it's experience. That is what the experience is. Because sometimes you see lads and you hear, oh, he's battered him in sparring, oh, he's the most talented kid, and then they lose along the way. Well, sometimes it's just experience, haven't experienced that, they haven't learned how to deal with that, or emotions in a fight or whatever. So, but I feel like Pat's at a point where he's picked up the experience. He's been boxing against the best fighters in the world, in the amateurs, in the WSB, for over 10 years. And, you know, these little fights along the way, Conor Walker fight they're talking about next, those little fights, great steps along the way to then, again, another part of it for the promoters is building his profile. He's boxing, he's beating better names where more and more people are learning about him, more people's tuning in, the TV's happy to pay more money, which means the opponent can bring in better opponents, and those are all the steps along the way to becoming a world champion.
Well, talking about that step, like Miguel Parra, I mean, he had a good fight against Gayasov as well in the Crawford Madrimov undercard. We know these Mexicans. You've been there before with Lee Wood with these Mexicans as well. Do you know what I mean? So you know how tough they are. They don't come for a paycheck. They come to win. How dangerous a fight is this?
They're all dangerous, and he comes to fight. He's not turned up to lay down. He doesn't turn up to lay down. Never has done. He's a good fighter, strong, can punch. I think you can see that in his temperament when he's in the ring. Even when he's here, he doesn't want to be your friend. He's here to fight. And what else would you expect him to be? When I say Pat's boxed the best fighters in the world for over 10 years, he's not expecting them. That's what he's used to. He's not expecting them to turn up and, well, not really turning up to fight. Just that we share the ring with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, these are the type of fights that you need along the way.
I want to touch on Cameron Vaughn because I spoke to him. I was at his debut, and he seemed like this childish, happy, ready to bouncing off the walls, doing silly things. He sat there and had a conversation with me, and he says he's matured, this, that, and the next thing. Now, you've only had him 5 months. You've obviously seen his career. You've probably seen his fights, Gavin Gwynn and the Jordan Flynn and whatnot. What do you like about this young man in the way he fights?
So I watched his debut. Funny you mentioned his debut. I watched his debut and I thought, talented lad him, good IQ, and yeah, just always thought. So when he'd box and I'd tune it, I'd watch and thought he's a good lad. Then when they reached out, I said, yeah, we'll have a look. And then the biggest thing for me was whilst he was there, I think the first time he come for 4 or 5 days or whatever. But from the first day, what he learnt the first day, it was on his mind. Not only was it on his mind, he was focused on what I'm learning here. I could tell from the first day to the second day, when he went back to the hotel, wherever it was that he was staying, when he went back, I could tell it was on his mind in that time as well, because sometimes visualising and thinking about what you're working on is just as good as physically getting in the reps. I just explained there before, when the kettle's boiling, I'm just visualising, I'm walking through certain scenarios, certain situations. When I'm watching my TV programme, I'm watching it, but I'm still thinking about, I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about, and that those extra, it's not even reps, but that extra time thinking about how quickly you can progress compared to someone that I'm in the gym for an hour, but once I'm out of the gym, I'm forgetting about it.
It's gone. Yeah.
Somebody who's thinking about it for an extra 4, 5 hours, 6 hours outside of the time spent within the gym is going to develop so much quicker than someone that just, once the gym door's shut, I'm done, I'll come back to that tomorrow. And I could tell that was the type of mentality and approach that he had, and that is what excited me, because people call it talent. I don't care if you've got natural ability. If you've got that type of mentality, that excites me.
It's more than talent, isn't it?
Yeah, that is talent. That is talent. And you see talented kids that die off. He was brilliant when he was a kid. Okay, but what come of it? He didn't have the rest of it, so that's not exciting. I've got a bit of natural ability. You ain't got none of the other stuff that you need to take you to. That's the stuff that excites me. So to answer your question, it was that, you know. I could tell he was desperate for it, and
He does seem very, very mature. I don't know if you've done something to him, but he did seem very, very mature in that interview there, rather than being the silly kid that I saw at the debut.
yeah,
Did you slap him?
Natural maturity as well. But he's spending a lot more time around the other lads as well, a lot of time in the gym. Yeah, natural part of life, I suppose.
Definitely. Like I say, you've got a hot stable. But before that, everyone's going to talk about Moses Ituama with you, no matter what interview you've got. But I'm going to touch on Leo Atang, because you've got a young heavyweight in Moses who's flying at the moment, and Leo Atang has been mentioned with Moses. But again, as fans, we're going to look at that and be like, oh, 2 young heavyweights. One's with Frank, one's with Eddie. Yeah, they're going to fight soon. But you know yourself, Leo Atang's only 18. What do you like about this kid?
I think he's really good. I saw him as an amateur, and there was 2 lads that stood out to me when I tuned into, I think it was the youths, national championships, the youths. He was one of them, and yeah, I think he's a tremendous talent, and I think he's got a good brain as well. I think he's got a great team behind him, and they're giving him a good push. He's got time on his side, so it's exciting times for him, for sure.
Can you see, obviously not anytime soon, I think Moses is flying at the moment. Maybe Leo needs that little bit extra time to fill into the weight.
And that's the thing, there's no shame, there's no, oh, he done that by that time, doesn't mean. That isn't how boxing works. That isn't how, sometimes you see it in football. You see
a young prospect fizzle out, and then the young prospect
sometimes
who plays
that's what you
Colchester
see.
gets signed with Man United later on.
Sometimes that's what you see. That's not the case with Moses, because, again, all the things that I just said about Cameron, he's got that. People say Moses super talented. I think it's disrespectful, being honest, with how hard that young man works, the mentality he's got, everything. I think to label that as our talent, I think is disrespectful. But going back to Leo, I don't think there should be this comparison and race. 100%, you're right. Natural progression along the way. They'll meet. They should meet. It's a great. Do you know what I mean? It's a great bit, and you need that. You need a bit of rivalry, or somebody to build a story with. But I think
Let's hope it's not a Joshua Tyson Fury type thing.
Yeah, yeah. Should be just mindful of that, because people progress at different rates, and it shouldn't be this comparison. Oh yeah, well by this time he was doing that, so that means that it shouldn't work like that. The young man should be given as much time as he needs, to a degree, obviously, but to develop, to fulfil the potential that he's got in his own time that works for him. And you know, I think that Matchroom have said that's the approach they're going to take, and you know, it's good.
Going on Moses then, now I saw your interviews out in Saudi and whatnot, but what intrigues me more about Moses is when you mention all that stuff with Leo and Cameron and stuff like that. Why is Moses up there already at only 20 years old in a division where one punch can't just change a fight, it can change a whole career? But Moses seems to be taking this all in his stride. The way he answers questions, his interviews, it's more than just talent and work ethic. What is so special about this kid? Can you pinpoint what it is that's propelled him so far on at such a young age?
I can, yeah, but again, I say these things, and then people go away and still go, it's just talent. That it's emotional maturity. He works extremely hard at his craft. Again, when we'll teach him something, he'll go away and that'll be on his mind. He'll rewatch his spars based on, okay, so today we worked on that because they said this was happening yesterday in sparring. Let me go back. After working on this today, I want to go back and watch that spar. When I watch that spar with those things he worked on, I'm like, I can see that now, clearer. Then you're visualising, how does that look when I'm in there? Okay, when I'm doing this, their reaction is that I was struggling with this. They want me to deal with that like this, or I could do this to stop that from happening, etc. You know, he reads. So not only is he gaining from his own experience, one of the smartest things in life that you can do is learn from other people's experiences. That's what reading does. Read about other people that have been in similar situations or been there or helped people get there. What do they know from their experience? I can soak up that information. Again, he's a hard worker. He's got that. He did a run the other week, where they was all doing a fitness test. He wanted to know what everyone else got because he wanted to make sure I can beat that. Now, he's a heavyweight. He's not supposed to be able to compete with the guys that are half his weight. But that was his target, and that was what he wouldn't get off until he done that. That's not talent. That is not talent. So, yeah, all of those things is why. But emotional maturity is a huge one as well. And part of that, I think, comes from confidence and belief in himself. I don't think he looks at situations and he's like, oh, you know, I'm here. He looks here like, I'm supposed to be here. This was supposed to happen. And I think that's where not get flustered, that's where the emotional maturity comes from. I've been working to get here. I knew I was supposed to get here. This was part of my plan. So again, I've just gave away a number of, or the recipe, part of the recipe to what it is to achieve those things, but people label it as talent, and that, for those reasons, that's why I think it's disrespectful.
And I agree with everything you just said there, to be honest with you, because I've got a young fighter, Fred, who's in a similar boat. Now, you mentioned his plan to get here. Now, his plan's here. He beat Dillian Whyte. Now, he's here. And Frank Warren's already talking about Usyk. Turkey's already talking about Usyk. Now, it's, 2 weeks on since the Dillian Whyte fight? Two and about...
Maybe 3.
3 weeks, is that 3 weeks on? What conversations has been had about what's next for Moses?
Might be 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks, isn't it?
I can't remember.
Sorry, say that again.
I said, what conversations have been had, reference what's next for this young man? I mean, Usyk, as a coach, you like to break down tape, you like to do this and the next thing. I know Lee Wiley's a magician with that stuff. But when you look at what's next for Moses Ituama, he's 20 years old, what conversations have been had?
We had a meeting the other day, as you can imagine, and rightfully so. Offers are being put out left, right and centre to heavyweights. Most of the time, I actually liked Derek Chisora's analogy on this. A bad connection, put the phone down. That's often a response. Or it's a case of, you know, I want extremely well...
Is that
pricing themselves
high
up,
risk,
basically.
low reward type thing?
Yeah, and it's just a case of finding who works. And we had a meeting the other day. We're looking at some options, discussing some options, waiting to see what comes back on some offers. Again, I can't mention names because I think Uncle Frank gives us a telling off because I think that drives the price up. But yeah, we're all collectively looking at some options. Trying to find some options is hard in itself, and then looking at those options and then weighing up to see what's best. But I think, you know, Queensbury have got big plans for the next 12 months or so, and exciting times.
Usyk out of the question?
No, I don't think it is out of the question. I think it's, if that was put on the table, it's certainly something we'd explore.
You know what fight I liked for him? Richard Torres Jr. I like because they're both young. They're both southpaw, I think, as well.
Yep.
Richard has that same stature, that come forward
Yeah.
fight, aggressive, fast hands, head down, throws wild. I think that would be a good test because of his amateur pedigree. And
But if you was Richard Torres, would you say
if he was getting the career high payday,
that's so? How do
payday
you
might
make
not
that
be,
work?
but his payday might not be as much as a Ajit Kabayal or Usyk or
But
Chisora.
a quick one, exactly. But why is it not as high? Because commercially, is he as big over here as many people know
America?
he is? In America, but so what? Are we taking Moses over to America for it?
No, maybe not. I'm just
No,
saying.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying. But what I'm saying is
There's more to it. There's more. Yeah.
far more, and it's difficult because the TV then look and go, well, commercially, does that do as many numbers as somebody else? Then that somebody else wants even more. So
The business side is
exactly. Do you know when you hear boxing is a business? That's what they're talking about. Yeah.
definitely. I know you've got people are patiently waiting to get your expertise and your word, Ben. Now, one final one from me. Now, I mentioned that you and Lee Wiley study tape and you like to game plan and you really delve into boxing, the ins and outs of it, everything about it. Now, when you look at Canelo Crawford, you know what's come with this. I'm pretty sure you've looked at that fight and been like, this, that. What have you seen in that fight from the two fighters, and who wins? On the spot, Ben.
Yeah, we both think Canelo.
Can I give you a reason why I think Canelo?
Go on.
And I mean, it's a 55-45. I'm this thin, and if Crawford wins, I will not be shocked. I just think that as Crawford puts on that extra stone and a half, whether it be fat or muscle, anyone that puts on extra weight, the speed diminishes. Will his reaction time be the same? Will his hand speed be the same? I think that might play a factor in this fight if he does come in at 168 or even heavier, 170. And people are saying to me, but he's strong. Yeah, but his reaction times, what makes him quick? Like you watched that the Spence knockdown when he just came over the right hand. It was the speed of it. Do you know what I mean? I think that diminishes. That's why I'm slightly, and I mean slightly, favouring Canelo, Ben. I don't know where you are on that.
Yeah, I can't speak for Lee, but I quite heavily favour Canelo. I know that he does favour Canelo. I think deep down Lee would like Crawford to do it because it's one of them, in our era, we had this amazing win go on. But yeah, I'm not going to get into details as to why, but yeah, I think...
Heavily favours him.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Would you be shocked if Crawford win then?
I would.
Yeah.
I would, myself. Can't speak for Lee, but I would be shocked, yeah.
Ben, as always, absolute pleasure to speak to you. Good to see
That's
you
not
again.
to say I don't rate Crawford. I think
No,
he's a
of
very,
course.
very good fighter, but I just think that there's a huge underestimation of Canelo.
Definitely. And like I say, the people are saying you're only as good as your last fight, and both of them never really gave it the performance of a lifetime in both their fights. But anyway, good luck on Saturday night. No doubt I'll see you at the weigh-in tomorrow. And as always, Ben, it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. And I'll see you in the next one.
No
Thank you,
problem.
mate.